All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Tacobout Live with Frank Manny here on Taco Tuesday on a Thursday. So, good morning, brother.
Good morning, bro.
And we're coming at you on a Thursday because we were out of town and unavailable on Tuesday, and so we decided we'll go ahead and go do Taco Tuesday on a Thursday. And so although we're probably going to get our tacos a little bit later as well, but don't forget tacos are a very important food group in the life of a Texan and an American, actually.
Yeah, it's. I think part of it's your daily dose of good stuff. But anyways, yeah. Hey, thanks for joining us, folks. Yeah, well, there's a lot to talk about, and so we didn't want to let this week go by without just sitting down in front of you, our loyal audience, our fellow Texans, our fellow God-fearing Americans, and I use that in every sense of the word, Manny. God-fearing. That reverential respect and awe of the Almighty God that directs our lives, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And
The scriptures say that man makes his plans, but God directs his steps, and we got to trust in that as men of faith, as people of faith. We have to trust. With all the things that are going on in the world, and especially here in America, and right now, we're here in Del Rio, and all these things that are happening. The scriptures remind us that God is above the flood. He sits above the flood, and he's on the throne. He knows the end from the beginning, but he still calls his people to get involved in life and to get involved in the lives of others. First of all, with the spread of the gospel, the good news of Yeshua HaMashiach. That is the first and foremost our mission, our goal in this world, in this life. Until we're able to enter the Olam Haba, the world to come, where Messiah is. And so, but until he returns, Frank, it's important that we put the message out there when we see wrongdoing, when we see injustice, when we see unjust laws, when we see the chaos and the turmoil that is happening, to go out there and educate people. So hopefully we make the right decisions and we can all live in peace, even though real peace is coming when the Messiah returns.
Yeah, and so that's what folks need to remember. That look, that this world here, Manny, it's really a shadow, a shadow of our reality, our eternal reality.
Right.
And so as believers and as Americans, we're unique. We're unique by virtue of the fact that we're Americans. But to be an American believer in Christ, especially in these days. Look, folks, all I can say is armor up. Get that armor of light on. Uh, get into the Word of God. And as always, I say that, and the fingers pointing right at me as well. We all could use more time in the Word of God, feeding our spirit, arming ourselves up with the weapons of our warfare, which are not carnal, but they're mighty to pull down, destroy strongholds. And these are this is what the times are demanding, that we spend time with our Creator, with our Lord, with our Savior, our true Master. And so, hey, look, folks, thanks for joining us. There's a lot happening. So, Manny, you were out of town in New York, man. Tell us about New York City.
I was in New York, and actually we were hanging out on Long Island. We were at a rabbi's conference, my wife and I, for a few days, and then a really good meeting, awesome prayer time, just some fellowship that was much needed about the direction. What I'm a part of what's called the National Jewish Fellowship, and so we got together a whole bunch of other rabbis over there, and of course, if it's not Israel, where the Jewish people are, it's New York, and then Florida. So that's just the way it goes. But we had an awesome time. It was great, and then my wife and I took a couple of days off, went to Niagara Falls, hung out over there for a little bit, got to meet up with an old Army buddy that I hadn't seen in like 32 years. I was stationed with him in Germany, nice. And we've been in touch for a long time, and we finally got to hang out and meet, but we had the wings, man. I had to go get some of those wings. My wife went for the falls. I went for the wings.
So let me ask you, bro. Where were you in Germany, man? I know you told me before, but
yeah, I was stationed in a little place called Hahn Air Force Base. Even though I was with the Army, I was air defense, so I was stationed in a little place called Hahn Air Force Base, and then in Krelsheim in Bavaria, and then of course, I went to Crete for a little bit, and then Desert Storm veteran, and so we and then I finished out in Fort Hood. But Frank, I was gonna mention that when I was over there in Long Island and even New York City, bumping into people, meeting people, they were asking me, of course, when even at the hotels, in the restaurants, when they would kind of be, "Hey, where are you guys from? Your accents are different," and we're like, "Well, we're actually from Texas, and we're not in Texas, Del Rio." Oh my gosh, and it's like they knew about Del Rio. But their idea about illegal immigration was like way off.
Yeah.
was like way off in what's happening down here. They said, oh, because they're under the impression that it's only the Mexicans that are coming across and making it. They were a lot of people that I talked to were really really unaware that we had over 160 plus countries that have come through this little area, and the majority of Mexicans that are crossing are being returned.
Wow.
They had no idea that they heard about the Haitians, things like that, but they thought the majority of them were returned, back to Haiti. And when I explained to them, no, they weren't returned. Matter of fact, the majority of them were released, and we're up to almost 3 million now that have been released into this country since October.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one point something million since October.
Yeah, total, of course, not 3 million Haitians per se,
Right.
but
Yeah.
just
Total illegal aliens. Yeah.
total illegal aliens, and it's, and you have to explain that to people. It's a constant education. It's a constant awareness, dissemination of information that has to take place. Look, we're in the middle of it. We're down in the trenches. We're up to our eyeballs in this down here in the border regions. But even so, Manny, down here, people are living lives.
Yep.
They're just going on, and that has been the exact purpose and the intent of this administration is to make this entire invasion as clinical, aesthetically, clean, sanitized as possible. And that's why they've poured, hundreds of millions of dollars into the Del Rio sector. And it's a shame, bro. It's a shame that Del Rio sector has become smuggling central USA. Man.
Legalized smuggling, man.
Legalized smuggling by our government in cahoots, in conjunction, collaboration with the United Nations, other globalist non-government organizations whose intent is to spread socialism and Marxism and to make people dependent on the government, per se.
Yeah.
And then also by these unscrupulous elected officials who are getting rich off this invasion, man.
Yeah.
There's so much money laundering that is going on with this, with our taxpayer dollars, $40 billion to the Ukraine, adding billions upon billions to that, and it's all a grand scheme, folks. And people, a few months ago, Manny, when everybody was waving the Ukraine flag and all that stuff, I was like, man, folks, you need to really research and get down into what Ukraine really is, what it's about. The fact that the United States was down there, several years ago and had, was involved with the government, shaking up the government, installing people in place that would better work with globalist purposes.
Yeah.
And so, look, folks, the same media that was pushing everything from the shutdowns of 2020 to the election and all that other stuff, folks, that was the same media that was pushing Ukraine.
Yep.
and plucking on heartstrings and that's what they want, man. They want the superficially informed person, the superficially informed voter. Now, if the rest of Americans that are not voters don't have a clue, that's the way they want it.
That's what they wanted. Yeah.
But for the folks that are at least going to step into a voting booth, they want you to have some measure of the information, the narrative that they've force-fed into you. So it's incumbent on each and every patriotic, freedom-loving American, every proud Texan, to get down into the dungeons, into the basements, and research your candidates, research the organizations that are funding them. Right off the bat, before I forget, one of them real quick here, the Americans for Prosperity, the Libre Initiative, Koch brothers. They've been making a big splash with endorsing people here in Texas, South Texas. They've been making a big splash, pouring lots of money into candidates in Texas. But they are open borders, and the Texas scorecard had a great piece on who Americans for Prosperity, Libre Initiative, the Koch brothers, who they are. And so, folks, look, before you get caught up in the hurrahs and the wave, you need to research your candidates because they're globalists.
Right, and we're talking the other day, simply because they have an R next to their name doesn't necessarily mean that they're Republican. It could stand for Rhino.
The communist red rhino.
The communist red rhino, and we're seeing that especially along the
Cornyn.
border. Cornyn, who is for red flag laws, and matter of fact, there was a piece that I was about to read it this morning, but they were criticizing him because that some of the other fellow Republicans believe that he is wanting to infringe on our Second Amendment rights, him, Cornyn, and as well as Tony Gonzalez. We're going to mention him a lot again here today. But Frank, one of the things when you were talking about keeping the Democrats or this administration wanting to keep information out there, the way they do it is they depend on the ignorance of their constituents. They depend on the ignorance of their voters and of the American people, to tell you the truth, because a lot of people don't vet their candidates. I was guilty of that a while back, before I got involved in all this and really seeing, who was paying who and who was getting money from where, and it's sad to say, a lot of times when you lift the veil and you follow the money, you realize that, man, some of these people are getting monies from socialist organizations, from communist organizations, from organizations that want to take away our freedoms, open borders organizations, and so what do they do? Like, look what's being said this whole past week through the media. You go to every news channel, because the January 6th Commission is meeting again, right?
Yep.
And you go out to just about every news channel, except for a few conservative channels, and all the liberal channels are saying this: January 6th is worse than Watergate. You go to every news channel, and the more they keep pushing that, and was it really worse than Watergate? No, it wasn't worse than Watergate. What happened to January on January 6th, in my opinion, was not what are they calling it? Insurrection, right? And so, but the January 6th Commission, who, by the way, Tony Gonzalez voted for, right, is being used against United States Americans, United States citizens. And believe it or not, folks, there's still people in jail who have not experienced the correct due process in regards to the January 6th Commission. And our representative, Tony Gonzalez, one of the first things he did was betray President Trump, who endorsed him for Congress. He betrayed President Trump and the American people and Texans, by voting for this January 6th Commission.
So let's jump on that. I don't know if you got the message on that video, but real quick, folks, remember, go back to January 6th. Trump's doing his thing, he's having the speech, etc. But in the chamber, in the House of Representatives, there was a vote. And Senator Ted Cruz, had floated, put on the table, on the floor, an objection to receiving, accepting the Electoral College results from Arizona to begin with, and eventually Pennsylvania. But the purpose of that, folks, was to send the Electoral College results back to the states, in this case Arizona, to allow the state legislature up to 10 days to review the process, to review the methodology used by election administration officials, and to allow, in essence, the Arizona legislature, hence the people of Arizona, the opportunity to look at what transpired in the November 2020 election. And so this week, Manny, at the Republican convention, I was actually there visiting with some folks, had a great opportunity to meet some people, congressmen, etc. But anyways, this week, out of the convention, several key things came out, but one of them was that resolution now, and of course the Republican Party of Texas got slammed, for saying that the 2020 election was illegitimate.
Yeah.
But yet, look, folks, we are finding out that there was a lot of shenanigans that took place in there. A lot of people have seen the 2000 Mules movie, and if you talk about this stuff, you're labeled far right, extremist, all that stuff. No doubt we're getting flagged by DHS and all these oppressors. Really, honestly, you think about it, they want to oppress and suppress your freedom of speech, etc. Yep. So anyways, what transpired here is that here in Texas, conservatives, grassroots, realize that we are in a war, and this was a measure. They also censured Cornyn, who people have known he's a rhino now for years and years.
Yeah, he was getting booed the other day after he saw that.
He was getting booed. I was in a separate part of the building, but immediately folks came up and said, "Hey, Frank, did you hear old Cornyn getting booed?" And I had the videos and everything. And look, folks are tired. They're fed up, Manny. They're I spoke with many different people, walked away from that convention, and I even saw it online. People commenting on the fact that this was a deflated convention in a sense. There wasn't that same energy. People were comparing it to past conventions pre 2020. But this is what I walked away with the most, Manny. People are tired of the status quo. People realize they are being played. Elected elitists are thumbing their noses at the voice of the grassroots. They're thumbing their noses at the desires, the will of Texas conservative, constitutional grassroots. And so I expect that the next session in Texas should be a fiery, feisty one. People need to get involved. There's committees that people can ask to be a member of, and not get in there, but can ask to be a member of. There's groups, advocacy groups that are out there trying to push these very important matters. And let me say this real quick, Manny, that Texas values are really conservative values. Texas values are conservative values. As I was gathering signatures for my petition to get on the November ballot, I was talking with people on the ideological spectrum. And I'm talking hard left, hard right. I was talking with folks. And there is this one key element. We are Texans, we're Americans. We believe in God, family, in our country, in hard work. That is the ethos, the ethic, the work ethic, the lifestyle, the way of life down here in Texas.
Yeah.
And so as I was talking with these people, Manny, as they were signing my petition, this was indisputable. We are Americans, we're Texans, and right now under these Marxist policies of this government, of Biden and his administration, and the open borders agenda of Alejandro Mayorkas at Department of Homeland Security, people are waking up. They are realizing. And so as soon as people found out that I was an independent, running outside the party lines, and I would tell them, yo no le debo nada a los patrones de los partidos. And that's Spanish for I don't know anything to the party bosses.
Yeah.
My loyalty is to the American people, to the Constitution, to Almighty God. And bro, that strikes a chord.
It does strike a chord.
It strikes a chord with people. And so it's been a very interesting week, a lot of developments. And man, that was a lot of stuff to put out there, but you can always go back. But yeah, you were up in New York at your gathering up there. Let me ask you real quick, man, out of that group, Manny, you're obviously a Messianic Jew.
Right.
You believe in Yeshua and Jesus Christ as Messiah. So how does that go? Because I imagine is it mainly a Messianic gathering up there?
Yeah, it was a Messianic gathering that I was a part of, Messianic Jewish believers, ethnic Jews who believe in Yeshua, and that's very important to for people to understand this. Ethnic Jews, people who have Jewish heritage, with that can be traced, and so we are Jewish believers in Yeshua. And but I did get to meet with a really good friend of mine that I've known for years. He's an Orthodox rabbi, non-Messianic Jew, and we sat down and talked and whatnot. And again, he was even somewhat oblivious to what is happening down here at the border. And because what's happening is there's a lot of people on the left are preaching a sympathetic message to the plight of the illegal alien. And look, I'm not about to turn my back away from human suffering, but this is not about human suffering. This invasion, and so but talking with a lot of people over there, and it seemed like every day people were asking me about the border, about illegal immigration, how should we handle it, what the answer was. All these things. After a while, I was kind of like tapped out, But the point is that there's a misunderstanding in what is being said, what is being reported, and people are only getting the gist of it. And then like even with the Uvalde tragedy, people really didn't understand what happened.
Yeah.
They didn't understand what happened. When I explained to them it was a massacre and a carnage, many people were shocked because here on the border we hear directly about these things, But as it starts getting further and further away from the border, filters come in, and people get these broken messages and broken understanding, and really don't capture the whole essence of what is happening down here on the border.
Yeah, and that's why we're part of our goal here, folks, is education, awareness, and it's not just us though. What we need for you to do is share the information,
Yep.
share it, get it out there. If you got relatives, friends, I mean, everybody does. You need to get it out there, folks. Get the information out.
And I was going to add, Frank, and it's hard, and it's not easy because a lot of times, Frank, it's one person at a time. Especially when you're on the side of right, it's like one person at a time. And like even with the gospel, even with the Habesorah, we call it in Hebrew, it's one person at a time. When you go and you talk with somebody, it's it seems like an uphill battle. Most of the time.
It can be very wearisome. Yeah, I mean, I get you, bro. It's emotionally or physically even draining. It is draining, but look, and part of it, I remember back to the days of the chaplaincy program. When ministering to people, getting the information out. Talking and inserting. The Word of God, which is alive, powerful, effective.
Right.
Getting that into the lives, into the hearts, into the minds of people. It is also spiritual battle.
Yep.
And so, yeah, look, we're in this to fight. We're in it to fight, as I started saying at the beginning of our broadcast here, as American, believers, American patriots in Almighty God and His Son. So we are unique, and we need to be armored up with knowledge, with the light, and certainly, with resources, etc. But anyways. One of the key things that as I was saying earlier, Manny, out of this convention, out of conservative grassroots, was this censure of Cornyn, but also this what do you call it? Resolution. This resolution that pertaining to Biden, and so we had. Been told about this interesting bit of audio that was out. There's a lot of folks that are conducting constant research, looking into these elected officials, looking into the money trail, like for instance, all the money that's pouring into the Gonzalez campaign out of Florida. Hey, so you folks in Florida that are watching today, and you're carrying the brunt of the bus loads of illegal aliens that are being bused into the interior of America. Many of them are winding up in Florida, where a lot of Floridians are donating to Tony Gonzalez, and I don't get that. You are funding your own state invasion out there. And so, anyways, this interesting bit of audio came across from some folks that are working on that research, and I don't know if you want to throw it up there real quick.
Let me just set it up real quick. The majority of conservatives, I'm not just going to say Republicans, the majority of conservatives and even believers, religious people, believe that the Biden administration is not a legitimate presidency. I don't believe it's a legitimate presidency, and I don't think you do either. Yeah. And
oh no, look, I mean, there was enough shenanigans that took place, and watching what transpired. Look, the Democrat talking points, hence mainstream media is. There's nothing wrong with our election process here,
right,
in America. Yet it was the number one resolution for grassroots here in Texas, in Houston. This movie 2,000 Mules, watch it. People got to keep an open mind. Watch it.
Yeah.
The other thing about it is that we know that in the world of politics, Manny, there are puppets and there are puppet masters.
Yep.
And no doubt, man, Biden's a puppet, no doubt. And so, for a person who calls himself a conservative like Tony Gonzalez to not realize this, and then comes out with a startling bit of audio here, which we want you all to listen. We'll play it a couple of times so that it sinks in, folks.
So let me put it on here real quick.
Just one of 13 Republicans who says that Joe Biden is a legitimately elected president of the United States. Can you reconcile those things?
Do I think President Biden is the legitimate president? Absolutely.
And so that's what's he's one of 13 Republicans, Frank, that believes that Biden is a legitimately elected president.
Yeah, and afterwards, go back and replay it a couple of times, folks, because you need to hear him. This lady is asking him. and this was out of Hearst, HURST media, newspapers, etc. HURST Hearst. He's asked, do you think he's the legitimate president? One of 13 Republicans that says that. 13
Yeah.
out of 100 plus Republicans.
Let me get it. Let me get it again so to see. Oh, here we go. Oh.
Tony Gonzalez shows his disconnection with conservatives.
A survey last month by Hearst newspapers of Texas candidates named you as just one of 13 Republicans who says that Joe Biden is the legitimately elected president of the United States. Can you reconcile those things?
Do I think President Biden is the legitimate president? Absolutely.
Absolutely is
Absolutely.
what he says.
He says absolutely.
And so, look, folks, man, we've been telling you, we've been warning you. Remember, guys, I was campaign manager for Raul Reyes, who ran in Congress in this district, Congressional District 23. And because of shenanigans, Tony Gonzalez himself is an illegitimate congressman. Honestly, if you think about it, people that watch this race, not just at the grassroots level, but elected officials have even said this, man. They know that there was shenanigans with Tony Gonzalez. He's the illegitimate congressman in this district. Honestly, we should have had Raul Reyes. And I tell you what, had Raul been the congressman elected back in 2020, he would have fought so voraciously, so hard against what is transpiring here in this sector. And so now, as a person who is running for that office, I'm going to fight, man. I'm going to fight. And as a 30-year Border Patrol agent who has seen the travesty of the Del Rio sector, and our agents, bro, our personnel in Office of Field Operations and Customs and Border Protection, over at ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, to see these men and women who swore an oath to the Constitution, and to see their own government, their own bureaucrat, autocrats, decreeing the invasion of America. It's disheartening.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking for them. It is taking a toll on them, physically, emotionally, mentally. And while we're on that, let me tell you, man, that we're getting reports, Manny, of disease coming into this country, like monkeypox and others. And some people will say, "Oh, here you go." No, look, folks, it's here. It's on the ground. People have it. That it doesn't get reported. Well, what do you expect? But we are talking with people on the ground that are experiencing this day in and day out. Yeah. And that's why, man, if elected to Congress, I'm going to be the most fiery fighter for the men and women on the front lines.
One of the when I was in New York, I was talking to a medical professional over there who was concerned about all these diseases and illnesses that are coming in through the border, and I was one of my concerns is the concern of dengue fever. In my opinion, it's worse than monkeypox because dengue fever. We don't even have doctors in America that deal with dengue fever anymore. The only doctors that deal with it are in Central America and South America because it's there. But some medical professionals that I was talking to, a few of them, were telling me that they actually had. They believe that they had a case of dengue fever here in the United States, and a couple of them actually, and they were very very concerned about that because nobody deals with that here, and not only are they dealing with that, but look, we understand that HIV and AIDS is here in America as well, but that is predominantly coming through the border as well, and in the law enforcement capacity. It's hard to deal with people who you arrest, that carry a lot of these, diseases because, sometimes you have to have hands on, you have to, handcuff them, you have to detain them, you have to apprehend them.
You're in the vehicle with them, you're
in the vehicle with them. I'm not sure if you do, but I come up positive for tuberculosis on the tuberculosis test because I've been exposed to it. Yeah. It just means you've been exposed to it, Yeah. And so because of my years in the Border Patrol, because we've dealt with people with tuberculosis. And so I've been exposed to it, over the years. And because of my contact that I've had with people. So, but the reality is that, one of the big reasons COVID, spread so rampant through the Border Patrol, we lost more Border Patrol agents in 2021 than we've had in all of its history, all of our history in the Border Patrol. And a lot of it was due to COVID, and a lot of it was because it spread from the illegal alien population. And but I want to jump on something else real quick before I forget while it's on my mind. As I get over 50, as soon as a thought comes, I got to jump on it. Yeah, because it'll escape me. Running as an independent, you're running as an independent. And so I'm sure people have asked you this, you run as an independent, and people kind of assume that your ideology may be different from the Republican platform, right? Because the platform itself, the Republican platform itself, I believe is a godly platform. I believe there's, but the people who, of course, get voted into office as a Republican, they kind of separate themselves, they divert, they get off the platform and end up adopting a Democratic platform or even a moderate platform. But so I'm sure people have, said, well, don't you believe you're splitting the vote?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And real quick, look, I'm running as an independent. And like I started saying at the beginning of the show here, Manny, most Texans are center right.
Right.
Most Texans are conservative in heart in the sense of family, values, of country, service to country, the work ethic. Even people who naturalized, who went through the process of becoming a naturalized American citizen, and even permanent residents, those are people that have taken that extra step. They're one step removed from becoming a naturalized citizen.
Right.
As I was speaking with him, Manny, they disagree with this invasion. They disagree with what's happening on the border because people want law and order.
Yeah.
They want it. This is America. That's what makes us unique is our system, our way of being, our constitution, our laws, etc. And anyways, let's not get too much into that. But people have asked me, as an independent, people get into my views. Some people thought of libertarian or whatever. I'm a conservative, constitutional patriot. And it's to that question of am I splitting the vote? The only way that the vote gets split, Manny, is if people don't vote for me.
That's right.
That's the only way it gets split. It's not me that's splitting the vote. I'm giving you a choice.
Yeah.
I am giving you a choice. And the way that the vote gets split is if you don't vote for me and instead you vote for one of the other two Democrats that are going to be on the ballot. Do you want more of Biden? Vote for the Democrat Party. Do you want more of the invasion, open borders, amnesty? Vote for the LULAC, Soros, puppet, Tony Gonzalez.
Yep.
Plain and simple, bro. I'm giving you the choice to vote for a constitutional, conservative, Christian, America First candidate who has lived on the border, who has been a Border Patrol agent for 30 years defending this country, 3 years in the military abroad, who knows what needs to be done here on this border. And so I'm the man for the job for this time, for such a time as this.
Yeah.
And so am I going to split the vote? If you don't think outside the box, if you don't break that paradigm, if you don't take the blinders off, if you put party over principle, if you don't put the patriotic person over the anointed one, then you split the vote. I'm just here to give you a choice in November.
And I praise God for that answer. When we look at what we have now with Tony Gonzalez, and you say, well, look, Tony Gonzalez sits there and he says, well, I'm going to fight for the American people. I'm going to fight, for Texans. Let's look at real quick how he's fought. Let's discuss about that, how he's fought. In January 6th, Tony Gonzalez came into office in January. The first thing that he does, right, or in November, the first thing that he does, right, is betray President Trump, betray the American people, and vote for the January 6th Commission, which the majority of Americans, conservative Americans, Republicans, are against. I'm against the January 6th Commission because they're going to use it against people, which they are doing. They're using it against American citizens. So he votes for the January 6th Commission, right? One of his first orders of business is what he does. And then he goes on and petitions the Biden administration to fly illegal aliens out of Laughlin Air Force Base.
And those flights have resumed.
And have they? Wow.
Yep. The words we're getting from sources on the ground, on base, is that they have resumed.
And they're not being deported, folks. They are being dispersed throughout the United States. When those flights were happening, I was getting calls from sources that were on the flight line letting us know that these flights were not going back to Haiti. They weren't going back to other countries of origin. They were being diverted into the United States, back into the United States to release these legal aliens into the country. And then he goes on and he with Cornyn, another rhino, and he wants to establish mega processing centers, not for the purpose of deportation of illegal aliens entering into the country, but for the purpose of releasing illegal aliens into the country.
Yep.
Right? And so, folks, this guy Tony Gonzalez is a rhino. He's a traitor to the country, and he's a traitor to Texans. And I know we talk about him on this show a lot, but we're in District 23.
Yeah,
we're in District 23. If we were in another district, we'd be looking at the other representatives that are there. Like if we were in Senate District 24, I'd be looking at Pete Flores and talking about all the things that he has done.
Yeah.
And the people that he's connected with.
And so you're right, and we are in this district, and we're also former Border Patrol agents.
Yeah.
We served in the military in the U.S. Army, so defense of our nation, protecting our sovereignty, the concern for our communities, the wild car chases that are taking place, the sexploitation of women and children as believers. Yeah. Of course, we're going to talk about people, especially when they are hypocrites and outright liars, deceivers, and traitors, which many elected officials are, folks. Look, the time has come when we have to say and call it for what it is. America's in trouble. Dangerous times are here amongst us. We as Texans, as freedom, as Americans, as free Americans, we have to get into the mix here. We have to jump into the arena. And people talk about the what do you call it? The protocols. The etiquette of the elected office. I'll tell you what, folks. People need fighters.
Yeah.
Because I've said this to some folks. They got their coats and their ties on. They look, I guess like what the image of people think a congressman should do. But they're stabbing you in the back wearing those coats and their ties.
Yeah, back at the founding of this nation, congressmen actually got out there, and amongst the people, Gandhi, and it was actually a prerequisite for people running for office in the beginning of this country to be a part of a congregation, to show that they belong to a body of faith. We've gone so far away from that. We've had, I've always said, we instead of politicians, we need statesmen. And true statesmen who are not only faithful to their state, like Texas, but faithful to their country.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping I didn't lose us here, but
so to continue that thought, Manny, we not just to move beyond statesmen. We need warrior statesmen, bro.
Yeah.
We need people that are willing to get into the trenches, people that are willing to fight, and we're going to continue, forward, bro. No matter what comes our way, no matter what the people are flinging our way. And let me just say this real quick. Now that I went up to Austin, bro, I turned in my signatures. It was amazing, the response. Initially, just to get the 500 signatures that I needed, man, if I would have been selling tickets for the people waiting in line, of course I'm jesting there, but people were so eager, so ready to sign that petition.
Wow.
To get rid of Tony Gonzalez, to fire Tony Gonzalez in this district. It was not a problem to get the minimum number of signatures. And of course, I spent time. People saw me here hanging out at our local gas station in Walmart. I was down there for days on end. And it was a great time because you said something about getting out on the stump. With the stump speeches, and that's a beautiful imagery of men standing on tree stumps, to get elevated as a form of platform,
right,
so that people could see who was the candidate. That imagery is such a beautiful piece of Americana, but also the aspect of meeting people, Manny, just talking to people from every walk of life. It was really a great time. Yeah, it was hot sometimes. There were some rude people, and as expected, I ran into extreme left persons out there. But the majority of the time, it was a great experience talking to fellow Americans, fellow Texans, because we had people from out of state passing through the Walmart gas station right here in 90, man, because Del Rio is a gateway to the Big Bend country.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of folks that are traveling back and forth. I met people from within the district that were surprised, that their district of County, Loving, up in Crane, Upton, Reagan County, they were surprised that they're in the district. And so it was a great time to meet a lot of different people, make some great connections. And so now that I turned in the petition, we're waiting to hear from the Secretary of State. My expectation is to be on the November ballot because we double, triple checked those signatures, their voter status. And so we should be hearing something hopefully by the end of the week, if not early next week. But we're going to continue. And I've said it, Manny, look, we're running to win, of course.
Right.
But we're also fighting. We're also fighting for America, getting the word out about what's happening, not just on the border, but also how what happens on the border is going to affect you.
Yep.
I spoke earlier about the diseases that are coming across. That's part of it. Another part of it is here in the border regions, man. Why has the government, targeted, this specific Del Rio sector? These are some of the poorest counties in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And they knew that if they stood up these facilities here, that there would be people wanting to get those jobs. Because why? Because they've been ignored. 40 years of Democrat rule in these regions, they have been ignored. The money goes into the metropolitan area, but what about la gente de los condados de la frontera? What about the people of the border counties? We've been ignored by our own legislature, sadly. 17, 18 years of Republican control, and what do we have to show for it here in the border regions? That's why I'm in the race to go fight for our district. And so, but that's part of it, bro, the lack of jobs that has made it easy pickings, for the government to come in with their facilities, with all these lucrative contracts. As I was driving here this morning, I go through what I call Bus Canyon, right here next to Gaddy's by the mall. For folks that live in the area that have driven down Bus Canyon, it's where all these white buses and red and green casino style buses, they all line up. And as you're driving down that road, it feels like you're in the middle of a canyon.
Yeah.
And so it's Bus Canyon, but there's counted up to I think it was 11 or 12 buses.
Yeah, I
there
counted
the other
11
day.
yesterday.
11 buses. They're down here because they're making a lot of money off this invasion of America. And so that's what we're doing. We're broadcasting what's happening. What happens on the border doesn't stay on the border, but it's more than just about our border security, our sovereignty. It's about the effect of this invasion on America, the effect it's having on our way of life here in the border regions, and what it's doing to the American psyche, what it's doing to the way of thinking of Americans. In that, sad to say, bro, but there are many Americans, Texans, who are condoning and participating in this American government-sanctioned smuggling operation. And I'm not gonna sit here and judge those people. Look, bro, they're caught between a rock and a hard place because of the fact that this district has been ignored for so long. People come in and say what they want to say to get the vote, but they don't do anything concrete for this district. And so I'm not going to blame the people who are struggling, especially now, bro. You go to the pump, your dollar's worth 50 cents.
Oh my
The price
gosh.
of fuel has doubled.
I have a 30. My truck is 32 gallons. Oh man, it's like paying almost a mortgage payment to fill up my truck. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
We've seen all the memes. Hey, I took out a loan to get a gas.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's.
But I want to touch real quick, Frank.
sir.
On again. Regarding that people are condoning this illegal invasion, my concern as well is that people within the body of Messiah, in the churches and the synagogues are condoning this as well, by thinking that they're doing illegal aliens a favor.
Yeah.
By helping them get further into the country, further illegal immigration, further their illegal entry. But folks, illegal immigration does not benefit the illegal alien. They're going to the life that they're going to be living here is not going to be the American dream. For the most part, the majority of illegal aliens that live here in the United States live a life of indentured servants to the cartels, the smuggling organizations, you name it. And so this is one of my big concerns as well, because we have these NGOs, these non-governmental organizations that that Tony Gonzalez supports, that the Biden administration supports, that they want, that have, in my opinion, Frank, have enriched the smuggling organizations and the cartels, because they basically, what the cartels and the smuggling organizations have been able to do is cut out all the money they would pay for drivers. For transportation.
Yep.
Right? Because the Biden administration, Tony Gonzalez, and these NGOs are providing that transportation to further the illegal entry of these illegal aliens.
And so there's a question here by a lady named Auburn, and I saw that, Auburn. Why have not approached Governor Abbott? Look, I'll tell you, he came to Del Rio. Why have I not approached Governor Abbott, or have I approached him to declare an invasion? We've screamed our heads off on Facebook in Del Rio.
On YouTube, on Rumble,
we've said it. We've spoken with legislators. Everybody's calling for this.
we've even spoken to people who worked with him in his office.
And so that's what I was going to say. That in Del Rio here at the Civic Center, I spoke with his chief of staff, Mitch, and told him what needed to be done. This needs to be declared an invasion. All these National Guard troops, DPS troopers, instead of being down here to accept and receive these people and then just sit on them, wait for them, wait for Border Patrol to come pick them out, only to be released. What these troops and troopers need to do is as these people cross illegally into our country, get taken to the closest port of entry and removed out of the country, taken out. And you do that repeatedly, they'll try to get around, they'll try to run, but it won't be just a walk in the park, Manny, that it has become to where, for the purpose of maximizing, optimizing this invasion, what took place was down in this sector. 2 facilities have been stood up for this, bro. And then they've got the DHS combined processing facility north of Eagle Pass, which is, it's not by coincidence, a few miles from the Normandy-Quemado corridor. That's where you're seeing these groups of 200, 300, 500 people come over, folks, in a day. In the span of hours, these huge groups of people coming across. Why? Because just right up the road, within 10, 12 miles of that valley, what's known as the Quemado Normandy Valley, where huge groups are crossing, they stood up the DHS combined facility on what is it, 131?
131.
131 state, road 131, which is at the Eagle Pass, Maverick County Regional Municipal Airport. And you can see it, folks. It's right there, right off the highway. Why? Because as I said earlier at the beginning of the show, they want to make this as clinical as possible. Just maximum assembly line procedures, process.
You know what I was thinking?
Put in place.
When I saw that video of those 200 plus, almost 300 illegal aliens crossing through Normandy in that area, the first thought that came to my mind was, all those agents are tied up with those hundreds of illegal aliens, and guess what's happening upriver from them? Normandy-Quemado is a high drug traffic area. It has been used notoriously by smuggling organizations.
And you worked in that station.
I worked in that area for many years, and we used to catch so much drugs through there, Frank. It was insane. And so that was my first thought. Look at all those illegal aliens coming through, and I can only imagine what is going around them, and going around them unchecked, and unseen, and even maybe seen, but completely unchecked. I guarantee you that there was drug traffic going through there.
Well, and so let me give you another aspect, folks, because it's the border, it's the invasion, etc. Yes, but look, that valley, Quemado Valley, is also known for agriculture. Agriculture produce that gets put out and actually makes its way into Walmart and HEB, bro. These are
very, very fertile valley.
Grocery stores, and what these armies of illegal aliens are doing, and I say army in a sense of huge groups of people, the hordes, of people coming across, they are trampling through these fields of produce, bro. They're trampling through fields of, onions and melons, cantaloupe, whatever is growing on the ground. They are eating it, destroying it. They're defecating in the fields. They're tossing their trash all over the place, just leaving it on the ground. This is not just a migration disaster per se, but it is also an ecological disaster that's taking place here. And what's happening, folks, is the produce that is being produced in this Quemado Valley, and look it up on the map, Quemado, Quemado, and Normandy, that product is supposed to go to the shelves at a grocery store near you. And so it's going to have an impact in this time of, the effect that the high cost of fuel is having on the supply chain. This is also part of the supply chain issue. So what happens on the border doesn't stay on the border. The effects of the activity on the border is not localized. As a matter of fact, it radiates throughout the nation, folks. And so that's why you need somebody like me that's not going to go for the status quo to govern. I'm not going to go there to kiss anybody's butt or ring finger or anything like that. And they're going to go to fight for you, fight for America, fight for our future, for our freedom, for our children, for our country. And Manny, people say, well, what are you going to do? Well, one thing right off the bat is I'm going to vote against throwing all this money at our own invasion. The second thing is we need to look at this NGOs. We need to follow the money. What is happening with that money? Department of Homeland Security, Immigration, the Inspector General did an investigation on specifically on Endeavors, Family Endeavors. It's a non-government organization. They were given $88 million by ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And the Inspector General report said that $17 million was not used the way it was intended to be used.
How can you just misplace $17 million, bro? That's insane.
What happened to the $17
what
million?
happened to that money?
How did that money get used? Where did it go? Whose pocket did it end up in?
That's almost like that $33 million that ended up missing during the Clinton administration. It's amazing. It's sad to say, that we had two very good gubernatorial candidates, Huff Hines and West, who are willing basically to shut down these NGOs until they could be properly vetted and investigated on their operations. And now we have Abbott, who's going to be the incumbent running against Francis, or Rourke, who's actually sad to say people are coming behind him, but who was unwilling to call this an invasion and unwilling to look at the NGOs, and we saw this from the beginning. Frank and I, mentioned it over and over again, that these NGOs need to be looked at. They need to be properly vetted on their operations. Folks, these NGOs are making big money off of this illegal alien invasion.
And so are the elected officials, folks. So follow the money. $40 billion to the Ukraine. People, you talk to people, it's a huge money laundering operation, folks. Not only that, Manny, they're also asking for our weaponry. They are asking for our weapons. They want more high-tech weapons. They want us to send everything over. Really, folks, look, as the ball is being held in this hand over here, and they're saying, keep your eye on the ball, keep your eye on Ukraine, and we're sending them money, we're sending them our weapons. They're saying through the media, etc., don't take your eye off the ball. What is happening is this other hand over here, folks. What about China? What about the fact that they're buying seaports up and down Atlantic and Pacific seaboards?
And they're buying up all our agriculture.
Buying up all our.
In fact, there's Republicans right now that are trying to push bills through to prevent China from buying any more agricultural property here in the United States.
Because look, folks, supply chain issues, food on the shelves. But what I was saying is the military aspect, folks. Don't keep your eye on the ball. Look at the other hand. Russia is now engaged in war gaming. They are war gaming down in Central America. I forget, it was Nicaragua or Guatemala. One of those, fact check me, folks. But I want to say it was Nicaragua. They're war gaming. The Russians are right here in Central America, right down the road per se in our hemisphere.
And in Argentina, I believe there's still a big communist sympathizers, over there, socialist sympathizers. Frank, a lot of people don't realize that there are countries out there that hate us. That hate America. They hate American sovereignty. They hate American freedom. Sad to say, we have people within our own government, within this administration, that hate America as well, and are sitting in seats of elected officials. And
they're selling us out.
And folks, one of the big ways that our enemies infiltrate us is through illegal immigration. We have known for years that Islamic terrorist organizations have used the border, have worked with organizations, criminal organizations like like MS-13 and other, and cartels and other smuggling organizations to infiltrate the United States.
And I just saw this morning. Actually, I sent it to a friend of mine, bro. This morning, a report about a big migrant center that is being opened up in Tijuana, in California, right on the Mexican side, Tijuana. For children, unaccompanied children that come from the Islamic nations.
Wow.
And so, look, folks. You remember when they made a big deal about Hezbollah being down, in the Venezuela area, Colombia area down in what did they call it? The triangle down there.
Oh, yeah.
But they made it such a big deal about it. Well, look, folks, now under Biden's administration, with full compliance of Alejandro Mayorkas, the DHS secretary, and the very silent highest level officials in the Border Patrol, Customs and Border Protection,
Yeah.
On this issue, which is sad to us as former Border Patrol agents, what is happening to our country, it's terrible. It should be of concern to you. It should get you, definitely passionate and hot around the collar, because this is our home. And somebody said this, and I got to go to this, man, because we cannot let this go by. Let me run back real quick. But this lady, hey, Auburn Gallagher, thanks for jumping in here. She said, Frank, the Department of Family and Protective Services, DHS, are the only entities that are able to legally traffic women. And so, look, those are very pointed words. But let's drill down on that a little bit. Back in May 15th of last year, Carrizo Springs, down in Dimmitt County, we held a rally, Christians Against Sexual Exploitation, CASC, Christians Against Sexual Exploitation, making a case in defense of children. Because early last year, bro, we saw it coming. The women and the children, of course, men, that were going to come through this pipeline, the cartel pipeline. And since before that even, but our government has been working to optimize the pipeline, to make that pipeline bigger. Think about this. Normally, a water line going into a house might be perhaps 1 inch in diameter because of the pressure that goes in, 3/4 inch, 1 inch, etc. Just imagine a pipeline that is huge to accommodate all these people, and flowing through that pipeline are women and children that are going to be exploited. They're going to be sexploited. They're going to be used for sick, pedophile purposes, folks, here. And our government is involved in that. That's why early last year, we started all these rallies, starting right here in Del Rio with the Border Symposium, where we needed to sound the alarm about not just people coming over, military-age men, all these family units, etc., but women and children that were going to be used for exploitation. Their bodies would be sold. The people that talk about organs, etc., all that stuff, just the devilish, demonic underworld, Manny, that was a part of this human pipeline. And so that's an issue that Americans of any ideological spectrum should gather around, unless it doesn't fit your agenda. And it's a globalist, liberal, and quite honestly, a demonic agenda that causes the same people to be quiet about the children and the women that are being exploited as a result of what is happening on the southern border. And so we can't be quiet.
Yeah.
We cannot be quiet as not just as law enforcement, not just as believers, but as Americans, as men and women who should be concerned about the most innocent people in the world. Look, this issue is so complex. You could say, well, their countries are jacked up, they're messed up. Look, folks, these children are not coming through the pipeline to be reunited with their family. Their families are still back home. A mom and a dad don't come to the U.S. and leave a bunch of children back home, bro. These children are being sent up the road, and they're either being sold by parents,
Yep.
or they're being stolen by parents.
And even and
from
sad
the
to say,
parents.
sad to say, even rented,
rented out.
You know, over the years, folks, I can't tell you how many abandoned children we found. I can't tell you how many rented children we have come across. Folks, and now it has grown exponentially in numbers. The amount of abandoned children that Border Patrol agents are finding along the river. And what's sad to say is how many of these children haven't we found? Haven't we been able to come across because agents are not on the border able to patrol because they're so tied up with everything else, folks? I can tell you, and I'm sad to say this is a harsh example, but I can tell you, over the years, there are times when we've come across remains of people out in the middle of nowhere, out in the brush. You know that because smugglers and guides leave them out there. Just the other, we've come across people abandoned in smuggling houses, in tractor trailers, and folks, this is growing and growing and growing in number, and we're going to see more tragedy like these abandoned children, more deaths. We're going to see this because this is the borders are open, contrary to what I have said to say. Contrary to what Chief Ortiz says, the border is not closed. The border is not closed, sir. It is wide open. I cannot. I'm so sad that he continues to say those words that the border is not open. Sir, you need to come down here. I don't know what else you're seeing, but it is not. It is the borders are wide open.
So Manny's referring to Chief Ortiz, Raul Ortiz, who's the chief of the Border Patrol, and sent out a Twitter just last week, man. Saying, or maybe the early part of this week, I forget now, but saying that the border is not open.
And he's hashtagged it. He's hashtagged it, a couple other times. He hashtagged the border is not open.
Unbelievable. I mean, that's for Border Patrol agents, and we talk with
Other Border Patrol.
we talk with green shirts that are on active duty right now. We speak with retired Border Patrol officers, legacy, immigration inspectors, etc. We talk with these folks, and it's not just disheartening; it is disgusting what's happening. But look, the issues here are so complex. There's so much going on, so many different variables to this, Manny. That's why we need a person who's going to go up to Congress and connect the dots. Yeah. And that's what I've been doing for you folks, is connecting these dots, telling you it's not a simplistic problem here. It's a very complex, very layered, broad in depth and width, and it's in scope. And so I'm ready to go fight in the trenches for America, for our country. I'm not going to be your polished politician, bro. Pretty actually kind of disgusting to me that they can lie to your face, stab you in the back as they wear a coat and a tie. But look, it is the nature of the beast. Expect hell to be unleashed. Who knows what kind of lies they're going to come up with against me. They'll use their puppet publishers and so-called media around the region and across the state to lie, slander, but to try to destroy. But I'll give you this warning, folks. Just the same way that I've been trying to warn you, we've been trying to warn you about the antics of Tony Gonzalez, the antics of the globalists, the way that they operate. They take a page, they take the playbook from the socialists, the Marxists, the Alinskys. They take the playbook from them. And what you will see here in the coming weeks and months as we run this race towards November, they will do everything they possibly can to destroy me. They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, they will deceive. And so I'm going to always look at you, and if I meet you face to face, we will look at each other, and I will speak to you the truth. I'm not going to lie to you. I have nothing to gain from lying to you. And I stand before Almighty God. One day I will stand, bro, as my judge, as my creator. And I have to look into the eyes of my sons and my wife and my family, my friends, our community. This is not about fulfilling a personal political agenda. This is about fighting for our country. America is struggling. America is in danger. And we have to fight tooth and nail. Yes. Tooth and nail. And so just don't be surprised if they come at me Kavanaugh style.
And it's probably going to be the so-called conservatives and Republicans
Oh, yeah.
that are going to be doing it, Frank. That's what's sad, in the sense that we have these Republicans out there, so-called conservatives out there, that instead of believing in the platform, believing in the American ideology, they believe in party first.
Yeah. If you look at the platform, actually, and we referred to it several times. We'll throw it here, one of the links or something here, folks. But the platform specifically does talk not just about God, but also about, for instance, asylum, the refugee resettlement program, etc. And so, as you look at the border security aspect of the Republican platform, you will see that the so-called conservative Tony Gonzalez has violated plank after plank after plank of that platform, and that's why county executive committees like out in El Paso, they actually moved to censure Tony Gonzalez. It didn't pass the vote out there because of the establishment, presence, but there are people that realize and have moved towards doing something about the fact that the incumbent so-called conservative, who is really just an infiltrator sent here by partly by LULAC and George Soros affiliated groups.
And he's even been called out by people like from Tucker Carlson and others. So we're not the only ones who notice what Tony Gonzalez is doing or not doing in regards to his constitutional duties to protecting this country and defending the Constitution of the United States, folks. He is for open borders. If anybody had anything to say in regards to Chief Ortiz's comment that the border is not open, Tony Gonzalez should have stepped in and said, "Chief, I disagree with you.
Yeah.
The border is open." Because I know, I've known Frank for many years. I believe that if Frank were in office at this point in time, you more than likely would have approached Chief Ortiz.
Well, and that's that's supposed to be the job, bro, of a representative who represents the people, the will of the people, the voice of the people. That's our form of government.
Yeah.
That the representative republic is to hold elected officials accountable. It's to hold them, hold their feet to the fire. Yeah. And I'll tell you one thing, man. One person that will immediately move to impeach is Mayorkas.
Yeah.
Get rid of him. And of course, I would imagine there's going to be a move, but if not, I'll jump in on impeaching Biden himself.
Yeah.
Because that's what this country needs. Now, I don't know whether any of our Republican senators would vote for that, but look, that's a topic for a different day. What we're talking here about today, folks, very, very specifically has been what we're seeing on the border, and the way that it's not just a border, the physical trespass, the physical desecration of our sovereignty. It's about the fallout and all these different elements and dynamics that are at work in this invasion. And that's what it is. I was going over my comments a day or two ago, Manny, and came across, somebody referring to me as a Zionist and as a racist, and and of course that's what they're going to do. They're going to throw all that. But to circle back to the topic, do not be surprised and do not be misled by the attacks that you will see coming against me, folks. They're gonna fabricate everything they can. They're gonna conceive some of them silly, attack points. Some of them are going to sound official and all this other stuff. But as always, I am willing to stand in front of you and give you an explanation. And one thing, though, we did encounter when I was campaign manager for Raul last time is, how do you fight against the lie, bro? When if it's an outright lie, there is no substance to it. How do you defend yourself against the lie? How do you try to prove something or disprove something that's not even real to begin with?
In today's day and age, it's very, very difficult, Frank, because people don't go and investigate.
They don't research.
They don't research. I mean, the stuff that Tony Gonzalez had said about Raul, and in some cases even you already. You weren't even. You're still working on your petition. He's already said some things and just thrown some lies out there with no substance, with no backing, with no corroborating evidence per se.
Yeah.
In regards to what he says, and that's what the Democrats do. That's what the left does. That's what liberals do. They just throw out words and depend that nobody and believe that nobody's going to fact check or.
Well, if it's salacious, if it's gossip worthy, the people will run with it and not step back and apply some critical thinking to it. Critical thinking, like when people are getting phone texts, from from numbers saying Frank this, Frank that. Well, one of the one that makes me laugh is the Frank's been excommunicated from the Republican Party.
No.
So it's as if it's some kind of
Religious body.
yeah, excommunicated. But it makes me laugh even more, bro. That I was actually visiting with friends, with fellow conservative patriots at the Republican convention this past week.
And you've been invited to attend Republican events. You know that's insane to me. And then all the stuff that he said about Raul Reyes, that Raul was able to come and counter that with the facts, but yet and then Tony Gonzalez's Newswatch magazine or whatever, that news leader, so-called news leader magazine that continues to spew out journalistic.
Yeah, there's another one out there. Somebody reminded me about the Texas Insider. Hey, look, folks, you're going to see attacks. Texas Tribune did some stuff, but everybody knows that the Tribune has been, left for a while now, progressive left, etc. Texas Insider is actually has been used by the Austin political machine, by the Austin swamp. You go look into the Texas Insider. It's as simple as look at the physical location of that particular newspaper, the address of it in Austin, and then start researching who else is situated in that facility, in that building, and so then you start seeing that this is what they do, folks. They'll create some newspaper, quote unquote, entity, and then they use it as their propaganda machine.
Yeah.
It is the way that they put out their narrative, they put out their propaganda. I saw actually a story this week that was put out by the hit rag out of Eagle Pass on John Lida, who is a Democrat candidate. And let me tell you something, Tony has not spent one single penny on saying anything about his Democrat opponent. That tells you something, folks. When the incumbent Republican does not say anything about the Democrat candidate, but rather focuses his efforts, his resources, his time towards me, what does that tell you? He's a Democrat himself.
Right.
He's a Democrat himself. He's in league with the machine, primarily out of Bexar County. He's in league with them. He spends a lot of time in Eagle Pass as well, dealing with those folks down there. And so he's not going to spend time attacking his fellow Democrat. He's going to come after the real threat, the America First, constitutional, conservative, patriot, that candidate. That's who he's going to come after.
Right.
And so I just, folks, you got to think through these things. And so I'm just giving you some nuggets here for you to go research, for you to look into. And don't be so quick to run with the first story that comes across, gets on your radar here. Step back, apply critical thinking, and then do your research.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff that we relay about Tony Gonzalez, folks, you can go find exactly the things that he is that we're talking about. I mean, we just played you some audio that he's only one of 13
Only out of the 100
out of the 157 or 87 that they have. If my numbers are correct, Republicans.
No, 200 something. Republicans.
200. So one of only 13 that believe Biden is a legitimately elected president.
Yeah.
And so folks, and then again, he voted for the January 6th commission.
He was only one of 6 or 7 Texans that voted against Senator Cruz's objection to the Electoral College.
The Electoral College, meaning wanting to get rid of the Electoral College is what the Democrats want to do, folks. And so you can look this stuff up. We're not out here.
No. Let's.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it was a Ted Cruz. Remember, he objected to the results out of Arizona and Pennsylvania.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's right. Yeah.
But he was only one of 6 or 7. And then the other thing, he never did sign the letter from Chip Roy. There was a letter, Chip Roy, asking Mayorkas to step down. He didn't sign that letter.
And then he was undecided about impeaching President Trump. He was undecided about impeaching. President Trump endorsed him.
Yeah.
That's what's amazing to
Talk
me.
about traitor, backstabber, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said, but look, so what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to fight for you. Definitely going to vote against this invasion. We need to stop funding our own invasion.
Yeah.
And then we need to protect another aspect here, Manny. It doesn't get talked about. Look, Border Patrol agents, ICE, CBP, etc. They need to do their job, but they are politicized.
They're politicized, and
They
they're not.
become-
And sad to say, they're not even patrolling anymore.
Yeah, they become pawns in this political games. They need to be protected. So I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If we can float legislation to name some building after somebody, and float legislation to protect some green spotted cockroach somewheres, we can definitely float legislation to protect to protect these agencies, national security, for very specific reasons. In this case, enforce the laws that are already on the books, and protect them from these political games that are being played. The other thing, Manny, is you were saying this earlier. I wanted to throw this out. We need our Border Patrol agents out in the field.
Yep.
They don't need to be processing. There was a lie that was said early on that the more law enforcement that came into the area, the faster that Border Patrol agents could get out in the field. That was such a blatant lie, because everybody knew that the more people you had on the ground to catch and hold these people until Border Patrol could go pick them up, all you were doing was bringing more catchers, more babysitters, and Border Patrol was not going to see any respite, any rest from processing. They were just going to have more people to process.
Yeah.
And the Border Patrol's trying to hire. They're bleeding agents left and right. As soon as people are eligible to retire, they are getting out.
Yep.
And
And they're even trying to hire
processors.
processors and retired agents right now.
Annuitants, hired annuitants, etc., or whatever other measures they're doing. I've seen some job postings for processing coordinator and stuff like that. So anyways, we need these agents out in the field, folks. And I'll use this example. Thank God that we had agents available in Uvalde, bro.
Yeah.
Thank God that our agents were available, because in a lot of these rural counties, folks, Border Patrol is the only law enforcement presence out in many of these small communities and these sparsely populated counties out here. And they call on us before they even call the sheriff's department or the local police department, if they should be so fortunate as to have one. They call on Border Patrol first, and we need our men and women in green out in the field, because God only knows who is getting across. They said there was something like 800,000 gotaways. That's just what they know about.
Yeah.
That's just what they were able
And that's
to
a
document.
conservative number, man. That's a real
Yeah.
conservative number.
Yeah, who knows who's crept across these borders, what their intent is, what their agenda is, their ideology, their manifesto, or whatever it is, to come into our country during this time when we are so exposed to America's enemies.
Yeah. And going back to the Gonzalez again. He's also the one he also was among those who voted for the money going to Ukraine, the $40 billion right, that went to Ukraine. And then I got a text the other day that he was also one who voted against the Homeland Security Bill Appropriations Fund in fiscal year 22 that would have included more funding for Border Patrol.
Yeah, we're drilling down into his voting record, folks, and not just what he has voted on. Look, the other thing you need to look at is what has he sponsored or co-sponsored. What has he wanted to push across the finish line. That's what you need to be looking at. That early on, Manny, March of last year, he pushed for agents to get vaccinated along with Senator Cornyn.
Wow.
He pushed for them to be vaccinated. And so now that all this evidence is coming out about that aspect of it, but not only that, he presents himself as some kind of champion for Border Patrol. He very proudly wears the label of endorsed by the National Border Patrol Council.
Who doesn't speak for everybody, doesn't speak for every agent.
Yep, and he even uses our colors, the green and the yellow. He even uses them on his highway billboards. Those are the actions, bro, of a guy that is just so shameless.
Yeah, and I can tell you
that he doesn't have a moral sinew, a moral cell in his body.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I've talked to many agents, and they see right through him.
Yeah.
They see through his antics and through his games. I mean, even went as far as using a fake Border Patrol agent,
Border Patrol.
to further his message or his campaign. Which anyway, we can get all to that at a
The
different time.
agents know. I mean, of course, we'll never divulge the names of our sources, but they call him traitor. They know exactly what he is, and so folks, look, yeah, I'm wearing the hat. Why? Because I earned it. I earned it. It's my hat.
And that's why it disgusts me. Every time I see Mayorkas wearing the patch, it disgusts me. He did it. He even wore it again on the Newton Nasraq ceremony anniversary the other day, and it disgusts me. He's made a living out of hating the Border Patrol, out of hating us and what we do. And anyway,
They wanna definitely destroy it and get rid of it. But man, we're looking at the clock here. It's been kind of a longer than usual, but we've been gone for a couple of weeks. A lot of things happening. We bounced around from topic to topic. We could definitely each was in and of itself worthy of a full show. But we'll be talking about these issues, folks. And just remember, what happens on the border doesn't stay on the border. That's beyond the people movement.
Right.
That's about the effects, the cost, the ramifications, the fundamental changing of America. That's what you need to be thinking about as you ponder and you look at what is happening on the border.
So, folks, until then, we're going to go ahead and begin closing down today. God willing, we'll be here next Tuesday, next Taco Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. I like to call it Texas time. Taco Tuesday. Talk about it live with Frank Manny. In the meantime, you can go to our website, tacoboutitlive.com, and you can listen to the podcast. You can download it. It's going to be available in audio form here later on today. You can go and rewatch the video as well if you like. And also, please go visit frank4cd23.com.
Thanks, man.
As well, to get to know Frank a little bit more. Look at, again, I always have to point out how young and slim you look there, Frank, and look, not even a hair on your face there, man. And so
clean shaven every day.
Clean shaven everything, and now here he is today. So you can meet Frank, get to know him a little bit, about what to see what he's about, and also support him, people. Support him, folks. We'd appreciate you supporting him. We always recommend to give to your candidate
Yep.
first rather than the party, because we don't really know where the money goes. So, but Frank is running as an independent anyway. So, folks, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Again, there's a lot of stuff, folks, going on in this world that we need to pray about. We need to take a stand. And again, we're not advocating any type of revolt or anything like that. But there has to be righteous indignation in regards to what is happening here, folks, to stand up and make our voices heard. And so, again, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us here today. And God willing, we'll see you on Tuesday. So until then, we will say God bless you, God bless America, and God bless Texas.